In this video, I will be responding to some of your disability related questions coming right up. A couple of weeks ago, I came to the realization that I have been using a wheelchair for the past 28 years. To celebrate this milestone, I decided to open up the platform for my friends and followers on social media to ask me any disability related question that they might have. And boy oh boy, the questions came in thick and fast. The first question says, how do you go about it when you want to access a building but there's no wheelchair ramp or working elevator? Accessibility is a real issue that cannot be stressed or emphasized enough. Sometimes you even find important government offices inaccessible. Like, for example, I can tell you that I've been to the registrar's office and it was quite inaccessible. And you're thinking, wow, this is supposed to be a building that serves the need of every citizen in the country. And if it's not accessible, how then are the citizens who have mobility impairments expected to access this building? You will often find yourself unable to attend some very important events in life, such as funerals or birthdays or weddings or even church, simply because the buildings are inaccessible. So what happens to me in most cases is I just end up not going to some of these events. I know it's sad, but the situation is I use a very heavy wheelchair. It's a power wheelchair. It's quite heavy. It's not easy to lift. So if a place is inaccessible, mostly I just end up not going. The next question says, are you in a relationship? Of course, it wouldn't be a Q&A if nobody asked this question. And to answer your question, I am not in a relationship. I'm currently single. I just feel like I'm not yet in a place in my life where I feel like I can be or should be in a relationship. But when something happens in that department, I promise you, you guys will be the first to know. What are the challenges associated with being a wheelchair user? And as able bodied people, how can we make it better for you? Like I mentioned in an earlier response, accessibility is really a big issue. It's very difficult to get around if you have a disability. What you can do, where you can go, how you hang out, and how you live your life will certainly become quite limited. The other challenge that we face are the stereotypes and misconceptions and myths that surround disability. The unfortunate thing is that the more people express these misconceptions and stereotypes, the more people with disabilities become marginalized because people would start to think you're some kind of freak of nature and they don't want to associate with you, and it leads to isolation and a lot of mental problems and issues. Disability can also be costly at times. If you need, let's say, maybe medications to keep you healthy and well, sometimes you may need to engage the services of a caregiver, or you may constantly need to go for physiotherapy or consult the services of an occupational therapist. Your other question was, how can we as able-bodied people make it better for you? Inclusion. Let's include people with disabilities in all aspects of life. Let's support the causes of people with disabilities. When you come across important disability related information like this channel, feel free to share it on your social media platforms. Encourage your friends, your family, your loved ones to subscribe, check out the information, and stuff like that. The next question says, how do you go to the bathroom or the toilet? I think the real question behind this question is, and I'm making an assumption here, correct me if I'm wrong. The question is about incontinence and bowel and bladder control, probably. I know a lot of people wonder if people with disabilities have complete bladder and bowel control. Yes, I do have complete bowel and bladder control. I'm very fortunate. For most people in my condition, it's completely reversed. But in my case, I am able to tell that I need to go to the loo. I'm able to control myself, and it's all good. There are others who don't have complete bowel and bladder control. And even if you don't have blood and bowel control, there are ways of working around the issue. There are measures that you can put into place, devices and pieces of equipment that you can use in order to manage the situation well. I love this question. It says, can we call you tall, short, or medium height? I appear short, but again, my spine is curved, it's not so straight, so that does kind of like have an impact on how tall I look, especially when I'm sitting in my wheelchair. When I'm fully stretched out in bed, however, I do appear to be a little bit tall because, like, when I'm sleeping, when I'm laying in bed, I am my spine automatically is in a straight position, and I kind of like get an idea of how I might look if I'm actually standing up. So I'm just not sure. The next question says, who was responsible for caregiving during your university days and how did you make it work out? I was fortunate enough to go to uni in my hometown, so home was just a few minutes away, and because of that, there was someone who was coming from home to help me with some things like laundry or helping run my errands and stuff like that. In res, I stayed with my friends, and they're the ones who really helped me with everything. I had one who was also my classmate, and we shared the same room. We were roommates in uni, we were friends, and this the guy who helped me with day to day things. And I was very blessed to have a friend like that. And it certainly made my life way easier than it would have been. So I'm very grateful and thankful for that. Although I lived with one friend in particular, all my other friends also chipped in every now and again. One person would take me for meals, the other would help me get to my lectures, while another person would help me submit my assignment. It was like a village raising a kid, except that I wasn't a kid. Maybe I was. I don't know. I digress. Are you going to write a book someday? My answer to that question is yes. It is something that is in my plans. It's in the pipeline. I will definitely write a book sometime before I leave this earth. What's your disability condition and its type? As far as this question is concerned, let me do my best to keep it short and precise. But the reality of the situation is, I have different and conflicting prognosis and diagnosis that I've received during the course of my life, over the course of my life. Initially, when I was born, they said it was the Wednig Hoffman syndrome. But as my life progressed, another specialist thought it was more of a spina bifida. So at this point, we are really just confused about it. What have the disability related associations done in the past 5 years to make it easier for people with disabilities? And also, what can be done at community level? Let me prefix by saying that I am not qualified to answer this question fully because I currently don't work with any disability related organizations. So I wouldn't know what they are doing on the actual grounds. But obviously, as someone who has a disability, I do have my thoughts and opinions. Over the past few years, there have been a couple of signs that show that at least disability is somewhat becoming a mainstream topic. But is it enough? Definitely not. I think there is still a lot more that needs to be done, and we hope that the powers that be will also start to take disability issues and rights seriously. What do you feel is your biggest challenge? Physically, I guess my main challenge as Aaron is accessibility, and I also know that a lot of people identify with this challenge. It just sucks not being able to go where you want to go when you want to go there. Emotionally or psychologically, I guess my biggest challenge is to do with mental health, the anxiety that comes with disability, the worries about the future, the concerns about a lot of things, your employability, career options, what are you going to do? You are also concerned and thinking about your health. It's easy to fall into depression, it's easy to lose interest in life, to have anxiety, panic attacks, be just sad and gloomy all the time because um having a disability is quite a challenge. I am not going to lie and say it's easy. How do you do chores in an unmodified home, and what would be the most difficult task? I really, really love this question because behind this question, there is an acknowledgement and an appreciation and an understanding of the fact that people with disabilities are human just like everybody else. We also have chores, we also run errands, we also have responsibilities that we need to take care of. My answer will probably be to say that this largely depends on the individual in question and what kind of injury they have and what kind of home they live in. My condition doesn't really allow me to do much. I am very weak. Generally, my muscles are not fully developed. I also have very poor finger function, limited finger function. So I'm not able to do much. So household chores are not really something that I think about or have to worry about because my condition prohibits me from doing that. My reflexes are a little bit on the slow side, so the coordination and things just don't work as much as they should. However, for those who are able to do chores, what I would say is the disabled community is really good at adapting. People will always find a way of making things work because there are no universal approaches to how to make things and life work if you have a disability. The best you can do is do the best that you can, taking into consideration your condition and the limitations or capabilities that come with it. How have you managed to keep a sound mind against such odds? Let me just say, I don't have it all together. I know that sometimes it appears like I'm on top of everything, that I've got life all figured out. No, not at all. As a believer, God is my source. And because I have a relationship with God, I feel like it's the number one thing that keeps me centered and keeps me grounded. I'm also surrounded by a supportive structure of friends, family, and loved ones who go out of their way to help me stay positive. They encourage me, they do whatever it takes to ensure that I also live a productive and meaningful life. And I'm so grateful that God blessed me with such people in my life. How many times have you had people pray for you to get up and walk? And I mean, as a believer, of course, I've had people pray for me. I mean, that just comes with the territory. So it has happened hundreds of times, if not thousands of times. I can certainly tell you that. It's not just people praying for me to get up and walk. I also do receive a lot of unsolicited advice, medical advice, or meditation, or some weird juju recommendations to fix the problem. I get a lot of those as well. If you want to know what I think about this issue, do click the link on the screen and it will take you to that video where I share my thoughts about what I think about praying for people so that they get healed and stuff like that. I basically explained it better in that video than I could ever do in this few seconds. What is the one thing you like the most about being in a wheelchair that most others won't ever experience? Being in a wheelchair has given me visibility. And when I was younger, I used to think this was a negative thing, but now I am fully embracing it. I know we are currently living in a world where everybody tries to stand out in one way, shape, or form. Being in a wheelchair gives me a little bit of attention, and I have since started learning to use that attention for good. Wow, so there you are, guys. Thank you so much for all your questions. As usual, remember your life is a gift. Make the most of it, and I will see you on the next video.